All right, spirit of 76.1. But hold on, because Lance is getting our director's glasses that he left here last week. Here we go.
Are these done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so as the polls open for the midterm elections in like 29 hours on the East Coast, and Lance says nobody knows what's going to happen, but the expected outcome, according to like Nate Silver and other pollster predictors, is that Republicans keep the House and Republicans keep the Senate, Democrats take the House. And I'm okay with that, in that it'll lead to 2 years of stalemate, where the House kind of stymies some of the stuff that the Republicans want to do. The same way when Obama was president, the Republicans stymied what Obama wanted to do. Also, Mueller's been quiet for a couple months because you're supposed to not. He seems to be a kind of a traditionalist and didn't want to. Mess up the elections. But people are wondering if a bunch of new indictments are going to come down, and if so, and if they involve the president. And then that goes to the Supreme Court. Our director has said, well, should Ruth Bader Ginsburg recuse herself because she dissed Trump back in 2016? To which I said, well, what about Kavanaugh? Should he recuse himself? At which point Lance should say something.
Why would Kavanaugh recuse himself? He didn't say that he would support Trump to the bitter end, no matter what happens.
Okay, well, what about Bader Ginsburg, who said, should she recuse herself?
I don't know if anybody's heard any recent recordings of Ruth Bader Ginsburg speaking, but she is having a hard time keeping her head up.
Oh, she gets sleepy? I get sleepy.
She's clearly slurring her words, speaking very, very slowly. She's repeating herself a lot. And I think you guys aren't going to have Ruth Bader Ginsburg for very much longer. Sorry.
Well, that would be sad.
Yeah.
I saw the Ruth Bader Ginsburg biopic last night, which is it's young her played by Felicity Jones, I think. From 1956 to 1971, in a movie called On the Basis of Sex, in which she starts to go around and tries to get rid of gender-biased legislation that was based on traditional roles, family roles, where the dad goes to work and the mom stays home and takes care of the kids. And watching the movie, all I could think of was Lance would hate what she's up to. So, Lance, do you hate getting rid of legislation that promotes traditional family roles?
Well, here's the thing. I think that what we're experiencing right now, unless it is painfully obvious, but sometimes I think you have to point this stuff out, is the country is transitioning from traditional gender roles that seemed perfectly reasonable to a completely equal between men and women country. And I mean equal opportunity. And I think the young generation doesn't realize that a lot of the rules and a lot of the biases were set up because women stayed at home and raised the family, and men went to work. And so if you have a society where that is the only way things are, then you end up with a lot of rules that don't make any sense.
When things change.
Yeah. So, by the way, thanks for interrupting me. So he's starting early. So I'm just saying, I don't think our forebears that made these rules were evil people. I just think that they were reacting to the world that they lived in. When you know, apparently, if you look at the statistics, it's astounding. Apparently, something like 90% of people married, and the mother would stay home and the man would go out to work back in the 50s and 40s. And so, of course, they wound up with what we consider strange today. And I will say, on top of that, people were pretty basic in their attitudes of, in that people were unfair to women. I do think that women were put down because they had a lesser position in society, and people took advantage of that. I do recall, as I was growing up, that there was, the older people definitely treated women a little bit worse in very subtle ways.
So can I say something?
Please.
So you're totally agreeing with Ruth Ginsburg.
Well, it depends on the law.
Well, no, but we went over some of that stuff off camera, but like you're saying, she argued that by 1970, 1971, things had changed and the law needed to change to reflect societal changes and also the need for gender equality.
Yeah, but you know, I don't believe in all this gender equality stuff and nonsense. I mean, for example, I'm not sure having women in the military really worked out.
What about all the great pilots and stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to say something very shocking right now. I know I've met over the years not a lot, but I've met quite a few women that joined the Army, that joined the military. And almost all of them have been raped by American troops. And I also have found out that when they actually go to war and get captured, then they get raped by the enemy. Now, does that mean, of course, that means that American troops men should not be raping women that join the military. That's appalling, and those men should be punished. I think they should be executed. But the point is that maybe there's also doubts about the effectiveness of women in combat, and right now combat is fluid. The zone of combat is fluid now. There's in modern wars, there's usually not a front and a behind the lines. The front can be anywhere. So as a result, women are very, very often thrown right into combat because of their position. And I'm not sure that that's worked out. They've done a lot of studies and found that women in combat are projected to be actually more of a hindrance.
Who does the studies, and what exactly is the hindrance?
Well, they don't have the same resilience that men do. They need to urinate more often. They don't have the same physical strength. The men tend to fight over them.
That's a man problem.
Well, it may be a man problem, but it's there.
And it's
created a problem. They menstruate. No, but I mean, if there's a wounded soldier on the battlefield, they have a very difficult time carrying him. They have big disadvantages.
So you think women shouldn't be firefighters?
Well, no. Not if they can't pass the physical. Absolutely,
but they can, because they.
No, but they can't. I'll tell you why. I actually have personal experience with this, and I love the fact that on our show we can share anecdotes. When my father, who was a big guy, well over 200 pounds, needed to go to the emergency room, they sent two female paramedics over, and I looked at them and I said, "Do you think you might need some help?" And they said, No, we're fine. And they dropped him. They just picked him up. They had him up for about 25 seconds before they just dropped him right on the ground.
Was it down a flight of stairs? Because that's fairly quick.
It was down a flight of stairs, and then he careened off a pier, went into the ocean, and was eaten by a fish. Oh. But the next time I called, they sent over two guys that just threw him around like he was a rag doll. Yeah. And so I don't think they're good at that. But wait, I'm not done. And it's true that if you go back in history, there have been female snipers, like on the Russian front.
Women are good at shooting. They're better marksmen.
They turn out to be excellent snipers, but the problem is you have to have your country invaded and millions of people dying and everybody fighting for their lives to get to the point where you have to start bringing up your women.
Well, not if women are part of the military, and not if you do work on common sense policies such as don't rape your fellow soldiers.
Oh, well, not only that, but do you know, what about all those naval ships where they put the women on the ships and they all come back pregnant? I mean, is that really helping morale?
Well, so if there is a problem, then you either eradicate the problem. If the problem turns out to be ineradicable,
which it is, because you can't cut off all the people's genitals that join the military.
Well, so bringing this back to politics,
hold on.
McSally is running against Senator McSally is a Republican.
Is the Arizona?
And part of her whole spiel is that she was the first woman fighter pilot. So that means she sucks, right, Lance?
No, I'm very, very impressed with her. I think she's a magnificent person, a magnificent candidate. And more power to her for what she achieved.
But let's talk.
But I'm saying that in general, the policy of including women in these kinds of situations is very destructive.
Well,
I think it's failed.
All sorts of terrible stuff. Well, I'll talk to the Israeli military. They do okay.
No, they don't include women. Up until very, very recently, they had kept women out of combat, and what happened was the feminists, in like the past 6 years, managed to get women in the Israeli military into strange, sensitive positions that they previously were not in. All those women you see in the Israeli military, they were well trained, they were tough ladies, but they were not typically sent into combat. The Israeli military avoided that.
All right, let me say a thing. Off camera, we were...
All the military victories of the Israeli army were not done in the recent years with Israeli women. Although there were women that participated in the 1948 War for Independence.
So, all sorts of horrible stuff happens to people in combat. Earlier off camera, we were talking about bouncing Betty landmines, which are these landmines from, I don't know, either World War II or Vietnam or both, where you step on them and it fires a bomb into the air to nuts level, and then it explodes there and it blows your dick off, and your balls, and maybe your legs. And
you're saying women wouldn't have to fear that bomb?
I'm saying that because all sorts of terrible, like you could be briefed on
they already don't have.
No, what I'm saying is that I would venture to say that having your dick blown off is on kind of the same scale of horribleness as being raped. I'm gonna go out on that limb. And being killed is in the same ballpark of horribleness. Losing limbs, losing eyes.
Is there a point to this?
Well, the deal is, do you keep you brief your women on what they're might face in combat, and then let them make the choice that that this horrible shit can happen to you, and based on you being a woman, this additional shit could happen, but are you still okay? And that seems like a choice that should be made by women.
No, I think it should be made by the generals. I think that.
Yeah, but that might include women generals.
No, I think that the choice of what is best for the defense of the U.S. should be made by military professionals, not by feminist lawyers.
Okay,
and you're right now on the side of the feminist lawyers. It's like, to you, it's more important that women's rights is more important than the efficiency of the U.S. military.
No, I'm looking at common sense things.
Common sense is you don't send Debbie the cheerleader into combat.
Does Debbie the cheerleader even want to go into combat?
She might want to because she's stupid.
Well, no.
And you know what? I don't care what she wants.
Yeah, but there's basic training.
I don't care what she wants.
There's basic training. You put Debbie the cheerleader through basic training. I mean, when in that video where Katy Perry went into the Marines, and where Demi Moore became a Navy SEAL?
G.I. Jane.
G.I. Jane. They did fine. But in realistic terms, if somebody can meet the physical requirements of, how many?
Well, first of all, they can't meet the physical requirements. What happens is this: the military changes all the requirements so that they can be PC. That's what happens. For example, the Marines was the last branch of the military to keep women out of combat and to keep them from training with the men. And I think they backed down recently too, because they can't take the pressure, the political pressure. But there's no question that they changed the demands for upper body strength, because women have strong legs, but they can't match men for upper body strength. And the military just changed all those rules. They just couldn't fight against crazy, stupid liberals anymore. They just gave up, which is sad. Even the military backs down from PC, from.
So do you think women should be eliminated, kept out of the military altogether, or just kept out of certain roles?
No, I think we've always had a women's Army Corps, the WACs. And
are you going to segregate them in their own kind of?
Well, they during time of war, women provide valuable service behind the lines as administrators, typists.
All right, so at this point it becomes ridiculous.
Answering the phone.
But you're okay with fucking women being pilots, because women you don't need a shitload of body strength to.
I think that. I think that given the choice, the various branches of the service would have preferred to stay with an all-male military.
Oh yeah, maybe because it's simple to have an overall umbrella.
Well, but maybe that's what they need to function as efficiently.
Or maybe not. Maybe they.
And I think the decision should be left to them, not feminists.
And so you think there are no feminists in the military?
I think that every study that the military made for the role of women showed that women were a drag on the situation, made things more difficult to do. I have a friend that's a female cop, and I asked her about it because she's a formidable woman.
I've met her.
She could kick my ass. She's always joking about how she wouldn't need her gun to take me out. And she says that even she doesn't think that they should be sent overseas into combat in other countries, because there's a difference between being dangerous, being able to enforce laws on the streets of LA and then going home and going to sleep and actually being on the battlefield in a war zone, sleeping in the same room with men. It's just not tenable. And I mean, it's true, as we agreed, the Russians had to do it, and there are times when a country has to bring up everyone down to 12-year-old boys, but it's not desirable.
Yeah, it seems like something that you could work out in practice. But yeah, maybe you don't, maybe there are a few women who are suited to drag around an 85-pound bazooka in addition to the rest of their gear. So maybe, you know, women are not maybe only guys who weigh 210 and can bench, you know, 50% more than their body weight, you know, handle the bazookas.
By the way, speaking of bazookas, there were some bombs launched during the campaigns. Former esteemed President Obama has been on the campaign trail. How do you feel about that, Rick? I mean, in terms of crowd sizes, he talked about the Ebola outbreak that wasn't a big deal.
I don't know. Here's the deal.
He talked
the
about
election
Hillary's
is
emails. He talked about Trump's cell phone use, and he called the refugees. They're a bunch of poor refugees, and they're not a threat.
Few people's minds are being changed at this point. The election is in 29 hours. The election's a third over already. Close to 40 million people have cast their ballots early out of an estimated total of 100 million, 105 million voters. So how many minds is Obama going to change, or Trump doing like 7 rallies in 3 days? I don't know. It's mostly noise for the news channels. But to get back to
Lance, you want to comment on it?
I think the director wants us to move along.
Yeah, but okay, I have one more thing to say about women.
Right.
I think you can work out common sense rules for, you know, women in the military.
Well, apparently you can't, because apparently something like 25% of the women that join the military are getting raped. There's an enormous number of them getting pregnant.
Yeah, what percent? You said 25% get raped. What
Well,
percent get
I
pregnant?
actually am not sure about that number. It may be much more than 25%. But when a woman joins the military now, as it stands, she has a very high chance of being raped or getting pregnant. Much higher than if they're just going to college or something. Okay, Rick. So the point is that whatever should be happening, you know, we're not good at it yet. We haven't figured out.
Guys joining the military have a higher than normal chance of committing suicide later on. That's not good either, but it's not something. Doesn't mean nobody should join the military because you end up being suicidal.
Okay, if I had a daughter, I would do everything I can to convince her not to join. I would say it's too risky.
All right, let me go back to the gender roles, not in the military, but in general, which is, you know, I watched this Ruth Bader Ginsburg movie that talked about cultural change and the erosion of traditional gender roles, which you know, is a good thing because it gives more people more opportunity, but it also allows corporations to fuck people more. In the 50s, we went from the norm being intact families being able to get by on a single income. Now the expectation is that both spouses in a marriage have to work to get by.
Right.
Well, that's equality, but it's also a little bit of a fucking, because now you need 2 incomes to survive now, as well as you, with the same kind of quality of life as you did on 1 income in the 50s.
Well, it's the reverse, though. It's not corporations fucking people. What's happened is this. When women entered the workplace after World War II, we now have double the people working, so the salaries have gone down proportionately. So it's
That seems like a fucking.
It is, yeah, but nobody's doing it on purpose. What's happening is you have double the number of people wanting jobs, so the jobs are paying quite a bit less than they would have before. That's the reason wages have gone down.
Yeah,
When we were young, Mr. Wilson could get a job at the hardware store and he could support a family on that job. Now Mr. Wilson has to work at the hardware store and his wife Betty has to work at the local car wash to make the same amount of money. That's what economists have said. But Rick, the problem is you want to make it worse.
I know, here we go, because by letting people into the country.
The reason you Democrats want to make it worse is that every study shows that the more illegal aliens you bring into the country, the lower the wages are for the working class. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that the more workers you bring in, the less money the people on the bottom that work with their hands, that are low skilled, they make less money. So this one more proof that the Democrats actually hate the poor. They just want power.
Take every opportunity to diss the immigrants. So to change.
I'm not dissing the immigrants. I'm dissing the Democrats.
Okay.
For creating the situation.
To change.
And by the way,
no.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to make a point. Apparently, the economy is doing so well that the New York Times and former Clinton economic advisors are saying the economy couldn't be better. This is the best it's ever been. It's a dream come true, and even lower class, blue-collar wages are going up higher than every other class. So proof that the Trump administration helps the poor. Helps the poor more than the Democrats did.
Which is why you should vote for the Democrats, because the Republicans have had 2 years of unbridled power, holding all the branches of government, and they got lucky. They passed this corporate tax cut.
It's luck!
It is, because there may be competent Republican economists, but they're not in the fucking White House. What you have is, you have Orange Boy in the White House. He got lucky with corporate tax cuts that have led to optimism and investment in industry, and you have a reduction in some regulations that has led to more optimism, but it's the Kenny Rogers thing. Know when to fold them. 2 years of crazy Republican stuff have led to a hot economy. Now let's have some stalemate where we've got some balanced government with Democrats controlling one of the houses, controlling the House, and the Republicans are going to continue to control the Senate. So things are going to slow down, and perhaps we won't burn out and break the economy. Trump has shown again and again that he may understand some things about business, but his overall understanding of economics is not the best. So he's gonna fuck up, and maybe put some controls on him while the economy is still good. Don't let him break everything.
Don't you feel pathetic, Rick? I mean, is there one molecule left of integrity in you that says, the American people are now going through the best economy imaginable, and maybe I shouldn't punish them by bringing back the Democrats. Maybe, just maybe, given that the economy is going so well, we should stick with the people that are in charge now.
No, because they're not the most competent.
Instead of making stupid excuses.
No, because
you've got proof that they're not that they're competent because the economy is doing too well. If the economy was doing worse, then you could say, well, they're terrible. They're incompetent. But because it's doing well, that's the proof Rick needs that we need to put him out of office.
Historically, the economy, the Republicans eventually break the economy. Now, hold on. Let me say some more stuff. You know what the stock market loves almost as much as it's loved the last 2 years of Trump? Is stalemate. Because stalemate means that the government is too busy fighting with itself to focus itself on regulating companies, and the economy continues to steam along. It doesn't go too crazy, but it was great under the end of Reagan, because it was stalemated by the Iran-Contra, when Reagan was stalemated by Iran-Contra. It was great under the end of Clinton, when...
the Reagan economy was not affected by Iran-Contra. That had nothing to do with the Reagan economy.
When you had the last 2 years of a lame duck, stalemated president are good for the economy. The last 2 years of Clinton, who was kind of stalemated by blowjob gate. You know, the only president who had a bad last 2 years of stalemate and scandal was Bush 2, because things just got too bad. But a nice 2 years of stalemate will be good for the economy. So vote for the Democrats.
Rick,
now, to change the subject.
Rick, no, but this bears repeating. They're the most important things to choosing a leader is the economy and our fare in international wars and conflicts. And the economy, by every measure, and by both the Democrats and the Republicans, is the best it's been in 50 years, rivaling all of America's greatest economies. Some people say it's the best economy we've ever had. Some people say it's the best we've had in 30 years. Some people say you'd have to go back to post-World War II to find an economy this good. No, wait. And President Trump crushed ISIS. So he's won a war, and the economy's as good as it can be. Now, it's now up to you, a stubborn and biased Democrat, to figure out some reason why he needs to be made more weak.
So let's do this.
Why should a guy that's accomplished this much now you've got proof that we've got to get rid of him? Why is that, Rick?
No, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's turn it into a bet. Let's make a bet.
I already won that bet. And let me tell you something.
Didn't.
The fact is, I'm not that interested in taking your wife to a Star Wars movie, so I'm not gonna.
You didn't win the bet because the growth rate didn't hit 4% for 3 consecutive quarters.
It hit. That wasn't the deal. It was supposed to be over 3%.
No, 4%. It was fucking 4%. We can go back and examine the records if we're not too lazy to. It's 4% for 3 consecutive.
Okay, fine. So I didn't really want to go anyway.
Okay.
But nothing personal about the lovely Mrs. Rosner. But it didn't interest me. But
let's see. Okay, so let me entertain this bet. Let's say that what is expected to happen happens, and the House goes to the Democrats. Now, you'd expect Mr. Stock Market to go down over the next few weeks if that really makes business people sad, right?
I guess.
All right, so let's see what it does. Do you want to have a bet as to which direction it goes?
I'm not particularly interested because the stock market goes crazy all the time. But I will tell you this. Last time we asked the question, who's going to win the House? I've been giving it some thought, and now everybody's talking out of their ass because no one really knows what's going to happen. But I think that there is a reason that the Republicans might be able to retain the House. The conventional wisdom the history of the way the House has been going is that it always flips against the incumbent president.
Not
2
always,
years,
but all but twice in the past.
Right, and the last time it went with the president was during a war and the country needed to pull together. But if you look at the trends, and I've been looking at the trends, I think it's 50-50 that the Republicans retain the House because of two trends. The first is, if you look at the House for the past 15 years, most of that time, or at least the most recent history, the House has gone to the Republicans. And I don't see any reason why it would change. Just because there's this rule that the president in office always loses.
Well, it would
at
change
the 2
because
years.
everybody likes to distrust polling, but the polling.
No, there's
Okay,
more.
second
Okay, the
reason.
first. Okay, so what I'm saying is the House these days trends towards Republican. It doesn't go back and forth like real fast. If you look at the chart of the House is like a ship at sea, and it turns very slowly. And the turn has been towards Republican.
Because in 2010,
Wait, there's
Republicans gerrymandered.
Fine. And Democrats have gerrymandered too. They gerrymandered,
Not as effectively.
They gerrymandered Pennsylvania. But
But
wait.
one state out of 50. So.
Well, I'm sure they're.
And Pennsylvania's nicely gerrymandered in favor of the Republicans.
In front of the Democrats.
No,
But, all right.
No.
But wait, you didn't let me get
Okay,
get to
all
my
right,
second
all right.
point. The other critical thing about who wins the House is the House never changes hands when the economy is booming. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very ominous thing if you're a Democrat, because people are saying, why should we change when we've got money in our wallets?
So let's make a bet.
Now, wait, there's a
Let's
fourth
make a
thing. There's
frickin'
fourth-
bet.
Wait, there's a third
You
thing.
said two, but go ahead.
There's a third, yeah. I just remembered the third.
All right.
President Trump's approval rating is at 51%.
No, it's not at all. It's maybe 51 on a bias. It's at 44.1 if you look at a composite rating. If you look at only Rasmussen, which leans right, it might have hit 51, but that's a bogus
in a
number.
way it doesn't matter, because whenever the president's approval is between 45 and 50, that means that the House can go with him.
Yeah, but except 44 is less than 45. But do you want to make a bet, since you think the House might flip? Might not flip.
I'm not going to make a bet because, frankly, I think it's too close to call. But I'm not going to give you. When I watch the returns Tuesday, my hopes are high that the Republicans will retain the House. I'm not going in there thinking, oh, well, I'm giving up the House. No, I think the Republicans
All right,
could
I want
retain.
to hold on.
My suggestion is that the bet should be that if the Republicans retain the House, you're going to wear a MAGA hat next week. And
Fine.
if the Democrats retain, get the House, Lance will wear an Obama hat.
Well, do you have a MAGA hat?
I have one.
Okay.
I can get you.
No, I don't. That's stupid. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's easy to do.
I'm sorry. I don't, because I'm not. I wouldn't say that anyone knows for sure what's going to happen. I think this is like 2016 when no one knew what was going to happen. I think the same thing's happening now. So I won't make a bet because I really don't know. But I think the Republicans have an excellent chance of retaining the House. If I was a Democrat,
What if we
I
made
would be very
What if we
nervous.
made a one-sided bet where I'm the only one who's at risk? But let's not waste any time. Let's
Let
get
me
to
see
the.
let me see your arm.
All right.
Can you keep your arm?
Yeah.
Can
Let me change the subject.
All right, change the
One of our viewers, wrote in and asked, "Is Rick addicted to pornography?" And I've addressed this before, but I will go over it again, and included a link to a news story from 5 years ago that says that I am indeed addicted to pornography. And the short answer is that
Can you keep your hand in that? Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right.
All right.
Keep your hand.
The
like
short answer is no, I'm not addicted to pornography. I made a flippant comment to a reporter that whom I had pissed off, and she fucked me by writing a story that said I was addicted to pornography. And to further flesh it out, this woman was interviewing me about my IQ, because I have the highest IQ in America according to a bunch of super hard IQ tests I've taken. And she's interviewing me, and she says, well, how do you get any sleep at all if you're up all night taking IQ tests? And I said, well, really, I don't spend that much time on IQ tests. And, you know, it might be at most 45 minutes a night. And then a couple hours later, she asked me the same question, and this time I was annoyed because I'd already answered the question. And I said, frankly, I spend more time looking at porn than I do taking IQ tests. And because I'm, I don't know, a semi-comedy writer, and I thought that was, I don't know, I just gave her a flippant, kind of jokey answer. In the time Lance and I have been doing the show, I've spent maybe 14 hours on IQ tests because somebody wanted me to take a look at a test, and that averages out to be about a minute a day. Now, the reason the reporter was pissed at me was at the time I was working for a TV show, and I'd been told by the producers of the show if I ever did any media, any interviews or stuff like that, not to name the show I worked on, because they didn't want people, and especially me, because I'm a lunatic, to dilute the image of the show by me associating myself with it. So I tell this reporter, Madeline Cinto, I said, I'll do the interview, but you cannot say what TV show I work for. And she agreed. So we do the interview. And then a couple days after the interview is done, she calls me up and says, well, we're going to go ahead and say what show you work on in the article. And I say, you can't. You agreed not to. You will get me in trouble. And she goes, well, an internet search reveals what show you work on. I go, that doesn't matter. I will get in trouble with my bosses if you say what show I work on and you agreed not to. And then this moves up to her editor, who says, we're going to run what show you work on in the article. I said, you can't, you promised not to. And this fight goes on for about 10 days. And they're good and pissed at me, but I'm saying, you can't, you promised not to. And so they finally ran the story without saying what show I worked on, but they were good and pissed at me because I made them stand by their promise. But they fucked me by saying I was addicted to pornography because I made the flippant remark that I spend more time, and it was there was a headline, and then the subhead was TV writer is addicted to porn.
Oh.
Those fuckers. And then within a few months after that, I didn't have that TV job anymore. I got in big trouble. So they totally screwed me.
Can you sue those people? Because that was a shitload of money.
That I was making on my really nice TV job?
Yeah.
I don't think so. And at the time, it seemed like fighting them on it would just get me in more trouble with my bosses.
For lost wages? You know?
No, all I can do is say, you can suck my chode. You wrecked my life to a fairly significant extent, Madeline Cinto, S-C-I-N-T-O.
What does she do now?
I don't know, because the medium, it was a Fox News newspaper for a digital tablet, for an iPad, and that thing went out of business pretty fast. So I assume she's writing somewhere.
That's awful. I didn't know that about you, Rick. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, all right, next topic. So, no, not addicted to porn, though. To further flesh it out, just quickly.
Don't move your arm.
All right. I take testosterone blockers to shrink my prostate, because I'm an old guy, and that helps with urine flow, and it also helps keep your hair. And at the time, I was taking double the dose to double keep my hair. And one of the side effects of testosterone blockers is they make it so it takes longer to reach orgasm. So, and I used to use orgasms as sleeping pills. I used to like to have a nice orgasm before I fell asleep every
Rick,
night.
isn't this kind of proving that reporter's point?
No,
Right this second?
no, because I'm on a drug that makes me take a long time to do what I thought I needed to do, and which led me to to make the flippant comment. So I mean that's the whole background on that.
Can we mark what time that Rick said those things so that we can edit this out? I don't want Rick to get in even more trouble.
Well, let's go on to the next topic, though.
All right.
So never make a joke with an evil-ass reporter. So, oh, this was going to be the night where we were going to talk with Manley.
By the way, I just would like to mention there is warm milk.
No, we're Jewish. We're lactose intolerant.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
all right.
All right.
Well, what's a guy to do then?
I just
What
I do
what
now
choice
is
do you have?
I go to the gym 5 times a day. So I'm really tired at night.
Let me ask you a question. What's the best kind of porn? What's the kind that you think is the most useful to you?
Well, before you get to that, you got to get to the best kind of porn is porn that is not an investment in human misery. There's so many things that are investment in misery. Like if you buy diamonds, unless they've been carefully vetted, you might be investing in human misery. Certainly there's an argument to be made that eating animal flesh is an investment in animal misery. So it would be nice if naked pictures on the internet could be somewhat guilt-free, that you could look at that stuff and have some kind of assurance that people weren't having their lives wrecked and being abused and exploited.
Okay.
But I don't know. So there's no guarantee of that.
All right.
But you can. I'm sure that there's some stuff that's sketchier than other stuff.
All right. Let's go on to the next question.
But no, I would say that.
Camille, are you paying attention to what Rick is saying?